right. So, you know how we always like joke about machines like thinking? Well, with AI, it's
Yeah, it's not so much a joke anymore.
not so much a joke anymore, and especially with this new LLM from OpenAI called O1.
Yeah,
Um,
fascinating stuff.
yeah, we've got a great article here by Samsa Samila called Chain of Thought Reasoning, the New LLM Breakthrough,
Right.
published just a couple days ago on October 22nd. And then also some really interesting stuff came up in the OpenAI developer AMA session notes.
For sure. Yeah.
So the big question that we're kind of grappling with today is O1 really thinking
What does that even mean?
in any meaningful sense of the word?
Right.
Or is it just a really sophisticated algorithm?
It's a great question, and I think it really forces us to examine what we even mean by thinking, you know?
Right.
Is it simply about processing information quickly, or is there something more to it?
Yeah.
Something that sets human thought apart?
And this is where this whole chain of thought thing gets really interesting.
Yeah, for sure.
Samila's article describes how O1 actually breaks down problems into steps, almost like a human would reason through something logically.
Yeah, that's right. Instead of just spitting out an answer,
Right.
O1 evaluates each step in its process, which is a huge departure from previous LLMs that were mostly about pattern recognition and prediction.
So it's not just about memorizing a bunch of data anymore. It's about figuring out how to apply that data
Exactly.
to solve a problem logically.
Yeah, and this shift from memorize the answers to memorize the reasoning, I think, is a real paradigm shift in AI.
Yeah.
You see, O1 was trained using a technique called reinforcement learning.
Okay.
And essentially, they gave it a problem and then feedback on its solution.
Got it.
Over time, it learned to refine its process and get better at solving problems.
Okay. So how is that different from, say, how they train a dog?
It's actually quite similar. Think about it. You give a dog a command and reward them when they do it correctly.
Yeah.
Over time, they learn to associate the command with the desired action with O1. The reward is feedback on how well it solved the problem, and it uses that feedback to adjust its approach.
Interesting. So in a way, it's learning from its mistakes and getting better over time.
Exactly.
But what sets O1 apart from other LLM? Like, weren't they already pretty good at problem solving?
Previous LLMs were incredibly powerful, no doubt.
Yeah.
But their strength lay in recognizing patterns in massive data sets. They excelled at predicting what comes next, like finishing a sentence or generating text that sounds human-like.
Right, like those AI-generated song lyrics that were all over the internet last year. Catchy, but not exactly profound.
Exactly, but O1 is different. It doesn't just predict it, it reasons.
Okay.
It can evaluate each step in its thought process and even change its approach if it realizes it's going down the wrong path.
Interesting.
It's less likely to get stuck in a loop or give nonsensical answers.
So it's almost like O1 is thinking for itself.
Well, thinking might be a strong word, but the ability to self-correct and adjust its approach based on its own evaluation is pretty remarkable.
Yeah.
And this has a huge impact on its problem-solving ability. Noam Brown from OpenAI mentioned that letting an LLM like O1 think for even a short amount of time, say 20 seconds, can be as effective as making the model 100,000 times larger.
Wow.
That's the power of this new approach.
So size isn't everything in the AI world anymore. It's about how efficiently the AI uses its processing power.
Exactly, and that leads us to a really interesting question. If O1 can solve problems in this incredibly human-like way, does that mean it truly understands the answers it's giving?
That's a big one. It's all well and good to solve a problem, but is there actual comprehension happening in there?
Well, the concept of understanding is still a bit of a mystery, even when it comes to humans.
That's true. Sometimes I wonder if I even understand what I'm thinking.
Right, but with O1, it gets even more complicated. It can self-correct, it can reason logically, and it can even come up with creative solutions.
So it's definitely more than just pattern recognition. It's like there's a higher level of processing going on.
Absolutely. And to make things even more intriguing, OpenAI has decided to keep the intermediate steps in O1's chain of thought hidden from users. It's a bit of a black box situation.
Hold on, a black box? Why all the secrecy?
There's a few theories. It could be about maintaining a competitive advantage, or maybe there are safety concerns. They're not ready to discuss publicly after all. If an AI can think this well, who knows what it might be capable of?
Okay, that's a little unnerving. Are they basically saying, don't look behind the curtain?
It does feel that way, doesn't it? And there was even a story about a programmer named Thea Vogel who tweeted about having her access to O1 cut off by OpenAI just for asking about these hidden deliberations.
Oh, wow.
It definitely raises some questions about transparency and control in AI development, but it also makes this whole thing even more fascinating, wouldn't you say?
Totally. It's like we're on the verge of something revolutionary, but also potentially a little scary.
That's the nature of breakthroughs. I suppose they often come with a mix of excitement and apprehension.
So where do we go from here? If O1 can already solve complex problems in a way that rivals humans, what happens when this technology becomes even more powerful?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And it's one that we'll be exploring further in the next part of our deep dive. One of the most intriguing things I think about O1
Yeah.
is this whole concept of like thinking time.
Oh, interesting.
Smilla's article points out
Mm.
that the more time O1 has to process a problem,
Yeah.
the more accurate its solutions become.
So it's like giving it the space to actually ponder the problem, just like a human. What we all know that like rushing to an answer often leads to mistakes.
Precisely. And that's where the trade-off comes in. OpenAI has admitted that O1's process takes longer than previous LLMs, but the results are far more sophisticated and reliable, and they've even released graphs
Oh, wow.
showing the direct correlation between that thinking time and accuracy.
But wouldn't that make it kind of impractical for real-world applications? I mean, who wants to wait around for an AI to mull things over for ages before getting an answer?
That's a valid concern, and right now OpenAI has actually hard-coded the thinking time for O1,
Oh, really?
so users can adjust it.
Useful.
But this raises a fascinating question. What if in the future AI needs more of that thinking time to tackle truly complex problems just like we do? Would we be willing to wait for those more accurate, more thoughtfully considered solutions?
That's a tough one. I guess it would depend on the situation, wouldn't it? If it's something critical like a medical diagnosis or a complex engineering challenge, maybe that extra time would be worth it.
Right.
But for everyday tasks, we probably want our AI to be a bit snappier.
Absolutely. It's all about finding the right balance
Yeah.
between speed and accuracy.
For sure.
And as AI continues to evolve, we'll likely see different types of AI emerge, some optimized for quick responses and others designed for deep, complex problem solving.
It's almost like having different types of thinkers in the AI world. Some are quick and intuitive, while others are more deliberate and analytical.
That's a great analogy.
Yeah.
And it highlights the fact that AI development isn't just about creating bigger and faster models, it's also about understanding the nuances of how thinking can manifest both in humans and in machines.
So we've talked a lot about how O1 thinks, but there's another piece to this puzzle, right? The data it's trained on.
Yeah.
The article mentions that OpenAI used a specific data set called the O1 mini data set. And it seemed like that played a big role in O1's ability to kind of solve problems in that logical step-by-step way.
Yes, that's a crucial point. The O1 mini dataset included a significant amount of STEM data,
Okay.
which likely contributed to O1's structured approach to problem solving.
So it's like they gave O1 a crash course in STEM thinking.
You could say that STEM fields are all about breaking down complex problems into smaller solvable components. It's a very systematic and logical approach.
Which is exactly what O1 excels at. So it's
Right.
almost like they've trained it to think like a scientist or an engineer.
Precisely. And this suggests that the way we train AI has a profound impact on how it thinks and approaches problems.
Yeah.
It's not just about the size of the data set, but also the type of data and how it's structured.
That's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
So by carefully selecting the data, we can actually influence the way AI develops its cognitive ability.
Yes, it seems so, and that opens up all sorts of possibilities for the future of AI. Imagine training an AI to think like an artist, a musician, or even a philosopher.
Wow, that's mind-blowing. An AI composing a symphony or writing a philosophical treatise that's both exciting and a little intimidating.
It certainly is. We're witnessing the birth of a new kind of intelligence,
Okay.
one that has the potential to reshape our world in ways we can only begin to imagine.
So if O1 is already capable of solving complex problems and even demonstrating a semblance of logical thought, where do we go from here? What happens as this technology continues to evolve?
That's the big question, isn't it? And it's one we need to consider carefully as we move forward in the final part of our deep dive. We'll delve into some of the potential implications of O1 and what it might mean for the future of AI.
You know, it's kind of amazing to think that we're like living in a time where machines are starting to exhibit something that resembles human thought.
It is.
It's also a bit unnerving, isn't it?
It is, and this whole black box situation with O1, I think definitely adds to that feeling. OpenAI's decision to keep some of its inner workings secret raises important questions about transparency and accountability.
Right. It's like they're saying, trust us, it's thinking safely,
Yeah.
But we have no way of knowing for sure what's going on in there.
Exactly. And I think that the lack of transparency makes it even more crucial to consider the potential implications of this technology.
Right.
What happens if an AI develops a line of reasoning
Yeah.
that we deem harmful or unethical? Who gets to decide what's safe and what's not?
It's like that classic sci-fi trope of the AI that becomes too smart for its own good. Like, are we on the verge of creating something we can't control?
I wouldn't say we're at that point just yet,
Okay.
but it's definitely something we need to be mindful of as we continue to push the boundaries of AI.
For sure.
Responsible development and ethical considerations, I think, are more important now than ever before.
So, circling back to that fundamental question we started with, does all of this mean that O1 truly understands the answers it provides?
Mm-hmm.
It's clearly demonstrating some impressive cognitive abilities, but is it actual comprehension or just a really, really good imitation?
That's the million-dollar question, and honestly, there's no easy answer.
Right.
Understanding is such a complex concept, even when we're talking about humans.
Yeah.
We still don't fully grasp how our own brains work, let alone how an AI might achieve genuine understanding.
But O1 is solving problems.
Hmm.
It's reasoning logically, even self-correcting. That has point to some level of comprehension, doesn't it?
It certainly suggests a level of sophistication we haven't seen in AI before. I think it's not just mimicking human thought processes, it's developing its own unique ways of processing information and arriving at solutions.
So maybe we can't definitively say whether O1 understands in the same way that humans do, but it's doing something pretty remarkable.
Absolutely, and that's what makes this whole field so exciting. We're witnessing the emergence of a new kind of intelligence, one that has the potential to transform our world in ways we can only begin to imagine.
It's definitely a lot to wrap our heads around,
It is.
but it's also incredibly fascinating.
It is, and I think the key takeaway here is that we're living in an era of unprecedented technological advancement. AI is evolving at an astonishing rate, and it's up to all of us to engage with these developments thoughtfully and responsibly.
Well said. So as we wrap up this deep dive into the world of O1 and thinking machines, one thing is clear. The future of AI is going to be a wild ride.
Indeed, and if this deep dive has sparked your curiosity, I encourage you to keep exploring. Read those articles we mentioned, dig into the research, and keep asking those big questions. The more we understand about AI, the better equipped we'll be to navigate this exciting and, yes, perhaps even a little unnerving future.